How many drafts do you need to write for your personal statement? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sydney Montgomery, and I am the founder and executive director here at Barrier Breakers, where we work with students of all backgrounds on their law school applications, but we specialize in working with first-generation minority and immigrant students on their college and law school applications. And today, we are talking about drafting your personal statement, which has been a theme for a few weeks if you've been following along with us. Why? Because it's personal statement season. And if you haven't started writing your personal statement yet, this is your personal invitation to start. Now is a great time. It is a great time to start writing. Why? Because law school applications are officially open. They are open, and law school admissions are on a rolling process, which means that you want to try to get your applications in ideally before Thanksgiving to have your best shot at scholarships and admissions. And it actually does take a little bit to perfect your personal statement, your optional essays, a diversity statement, a YS essay. There are more essays now in law school admissions than there used to be a couple of years ago, which, there are pros and cons of it, of course. As someone who loves essays, I do have to say, I think having the ability to showcase more of you to admissions is not a bad thing, but it does mean that it takes more time to prepare your law school admissions package, right? All of your materials, it takes some time. Now, the thing is, it always took time. Just a couple of years ago when there was only 1 or 2 essays, people like to pretend it didn't take time, and they'd be like, well, I want to apply in 2 weeks, so I guess I can start writing now, and I'll be done in 2 weeks. I don't recommend that. I've never co-signed that. I don't support it here. But what I will say is now that there are just more essays, I am starting to see people take their time and be like, oh, I should actually probably get started. So yes, you should get started. But today we're trying to figure out how many drafts does it actually take to get to a good essay. This makes me think about that commercial. I might be dating myself. Some of you know. You guys know. You know that commercial, like how many licks does it take to get to a center of a Tootsie Pop? That's kind of how I feel about this episode. Okay, how many drafts does it take to get to the center of a personal statement? I hope you laugh. The answer is, like most lawyers, it depends. It depends, but I can tell you that having worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students at this point, most students need between 3 to, I would say, 6 drafts of their personal statement. 3 on the low end. It can go more than 6, but 3 usually is kind of on that low end. And I'm going to tell you how you help get yourself on the lower end than the higher end of that, right? First off, everyone's first draft is just that. It's a first draft. And I know that so many people, they obsess over it. They're like, oh my gosh, this has to be the best essay, the best thing. And I would like to tell students, it is your first draft and it won't be good. It might be okay. Honestly, I've seen some standout first drafts. Usually because they did a lot of pre-work and pre-prep, which we will talk about. But I have seen some standout first drafts, and even they are not one and done, right? If you think you're just going to write your first draft of your personal statement and submit it, that is the way to not be happy in the spring. Guaranteed. If you would like to be unhappy, just write that first essay, submit it, and don't write a second draft. And I don't make guarantees a lot in this business, but that one, I will say, it's not going to go well for you, friend. Why? Because anytime you write, and I do a lot of writing. I write obviously here. I help students with their essays professionally. I am published in the Forbes Nonprofit Councils. I've written for Headspring and Financial Times and other publications. The first draft that you do, even as a writer, and I think all professional writers will tell you, is not your last draft, because that is where you're getting it all out there. And also, you kind of need someone, not you, to look at it. Whether that's a paid service or just a friend, you need someone, not you, to look at it, because when you write, you're like, this makes sense. And then someone else reads it and they're like, wait, no, what is, I don't understand. What did you mean? Did you mean to say it like that? And I'll be like, dang, in my mind, it made sense. But now that you're reading it to me, I'm not so sure anymore. So what are really the stages of drafts? So first off, before you even draft, you guys know it's coming. If you've been here a while, I'm going to say it. You're going to outline, right? The better your outline, the fewer drafts you need to write. The worse your outline, the more disorganization you're probably going to have in your drafting process. Now, you could write a great outline and then realize that you want to make some serious content changes, you want to go in a different angle, different stories, but the more that you fully brainstorm all of your stories so that you're not forgetting anything, the more that you get focus and clarity on why law school and why now. So you have a theme and a structure and a purpose for your personal statement. And then the more that you outline it, so you have transitions in between your main points and you understand whether you're going chronologically or thematically over time or geography or feelings, and you know how you're connecting all these dots together. Once you've done all of that work, and yes, that is a lot of work, but once you've done all of that work, your first draft should not have huge structural issues. So now we're talking about how much time and space are we spending with certain anecdotes, whether to zoom in or zoom out in certain places. We're looking at the words that you're using, and we're actually seeing if those transitions transitioned the way that we needed to. We're rethinking maybe the relevancy or the recency of certain stories in favor of others now that we're watching it come together. So I'd say that first draft, it should be a really strong start, right? I'm going to call it like a B minus paper. That second draft is going to really start to refine things, right? And now we're like B plus paper. And then it might take a couple of smaller drafts to really get to a strong essay. Now, sometimes what does happen is, again, you write that first draft and you realize, oh, I actually really don't think this fully represents who I am. It doesn't feel authentic to my story. And we're going to go back to the outlining step, right? And so now we have a second draft, but it's honestly, it's really a first draft because we kind of scrapped the first draft and we wrote a new outline. And so it's our second draft, but it's our first draft. And so sometimes that can take your draft count up, right? Because you might have a few of those moments where you are kind of restarting. But once you know that you have the content, once you feel good about what stories you're telling, it really should only take a couple of drafts to refine it, to get it under that word count, to make sure that you're hitting the angle that the school needs, to make sure that, like I said, you're spending the right amount of balanced time on each of those anecdotes to get to a strong finished product. So, if you hit the nail on the head the first time with the right content and the right transitions, 3 drafts is probably a minimum, but I'd say most of our students are probably closer to that 5 to 6 draft time frame. But that is because we here also want to make sure that they are the strongest essays possible. So I'm looking at every comma, I'm looking at is it a short dash, a long dash? Do we need parentheses? Do we need quotes there? Do we not need quotes? We're looking at all of that because we want to make sure that they are the strongest pieces of writing possible, because also it's a writing sample, and I want it to be a beautiful piece of writing that is going to make the impact that you want on admissions. As always, if you have further questions, make sure that you leave them in the comments, or you submit a question to us at bit.ly/breakintolawschool. You can always send us an email. We'd love to hear from you at hello@barrier-breakers.org, and we'd love to work with you on your applications. We also offer a la carte essay editing. So if you've gone through a couple of drafts of essays and you just want another set of eyes, and you just really want someone to edit your personal statement, we can do that. And if you have a fee waiver, we have special discounts for you as well. I hope this was helpful, and make sure that you subscribe and share this video with a friend, rate and review, and I'll see you next time.